Hello, Katie, and a very warm welcome to this conversation of ours on Earth Day. So, we are celebrating Earth Day here, and thank you so much for joining in. For all those who are watching this video, we have Katie Carpenter with us, who is the Executive Director of Perennial STL, an organization that has been working towards environment, conserving the environment, and they have been making consistent efforts. And so, Katie, I have been following your nonprofits work, and I am really impressed. So, we eagerly wanted to connect with you and understand more about your work, more about your organization. How do you reach out to people, and how exactly do you create an impact? So, my first question and the most basic one would be: we would like to hear more about you, your nonprofit, and how does it work, and how does it create an impact in the society? Over to you, Katie.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for asking. So Perennial has been around for about 11 years, and our mission is to build a creative culture of sustainability where discarded items are transformed into cherished resources. And so we like to get people really hands-on as they think about sort of their sustainability journey and how they can start to incorporate reuse and build sustainable habits at home. So the way we do that is we actually offer quite a range of artistic classes at our organization, at our community workshop, ranging from sewing classes to woodworking, leatherworking. We do mosaics and stained glass, and the list kind of goes on and on. If we can find somebody that's creative and wants to teach a class here, then we are excited to teach it. But what makes us sort of unique with other art organizations is that we use all reclaimed or salvaged materials. And so everything we do, we're trying to think about how people can either transform something that they might otherwise throw away or extend the life of items that they already have. So it might be something really tangible, like taking an old sweater that maybe has some holes or stains and turning that into a new pair of mittens for yourself or for a gift. Or it might be something like learning how to mend or alter your clothes so that you can keep wearing them beyond where you thought they might be useful. So every year we teach about 250 classes, as well as have a lot of, we do a lot of work at community events around St. Louis and beyond. We now, after COVID, have a lot of virtual programs so we can reach people beyond our region. And we also, I will add, kind of core to our values is accessibility. And so we also offer a range of free programs for different social service partners or neighborhood partners so that we make sure that we're giving those creative opportunities to the folks around us.
Very, very interesting, Katie. I mean, the way that you're creating this awareness and engaging the people with their environment, and by engaging in a way to conserve the environment and properly use the waste material and recycle or you reuse that. I think that's a very creative and very, very interesting idea. I love that. So here my next question would be a very interesting one, yet a very basic one. So I have asked this question with a lot of nonprofits, and I have got very diverse kind of responses from every one of them. So my question here is, why do we exactly celebrate this Earth Day? What is the importance of Earth Day from your perspective? Because like I told you that nonprofits have connected with me and they have shared their own perspective, which is completely different, and I would love to hear the importance of Earth Day from your perspective as well.
Yeah, I think that, so, we like to think that we celebrate the earth every day at Perennial, and a lot of our community feels the same way. But I think that especially working with adults, although we do work with youth as well, I think that sustainability and creativity can both be really intimidating for adults because they don't want to feel like they're doing something wrong. They want to, they're a little overwhelmed by where to get started. And so I think Earth Day is a really tangible way to think about, like, what's something I can do right now? And hopefully there's a lot of organizations, nonprofits, advocacy groups around that use the day to kind of tell people where they can get started, or remind them that there might be issues going on in their own local community that they can engage in, whether it's as simple as a trash pickup, or getting involved in some kind of campaign or movement, or just learning something new that maybe they didn't know before. So I think there's a lot of excitement, momentum, and fun around the day that makes it easier to say, okay, I'm going to do something on this day, and hopefully that's contagious and it carries on throughout the year. But it's kind of like that nice kickoff starting point that sometimes we get overwhelmed and aren't able to find the time to do that. So I think that there's so many different ways to engage in Earth Day, but I think that it's a really great starting point for folks to kind of think about their own consumer and sustainable habits in their own homes.
I love that idea again, because yes, like you said, we celebrate every single day. We should celebrate Earth every single day. But yes, the biggest and the most difficult part of the journey is to begin. My next question would be, what is one simple Earth-friendly act, or let's say an Earth-friendly resolution, that you wish everyone should take, everyone in the society, across the geographies, every single person should take?
That, that's really hard, because I think that we all are at different places in kind of our sustainability journey. And so one tip that I heard that I think is really interactive and a good way to get started is to do a trash audit at home. And that sounds complicated, but really it's just as easy as kind of sticking a piece of paper by your trash can, and before you throw something in there, writing down what it is, or having the category and just making little tally marks. And then at the end of the month, you can see, maybe I throw away a lot of food waste, and so maybe my first step is to think about composting. Maybe I throw away a lot of packaging waste, and so my first step is to think about maybe how I buy products. And I think that that's a really good way for the whole family to get involved too, because everyone can do that. They can kind of track their trash, and you don't have to share those results with anybody. People maybe are embarrassed about what they're throwing away. You don't have to be, but really with anything, it's hard to make changes or improvements unless you know kind of what the starting point is. So I think that's a really good place to get started. Another real quick one that I'll say that is so easy is starting to replace your disposable napkins or paper towels at your house. One thing that we do with people, and they're always like, whoa, that was so easy, is we collect a lot of just old bed sheets, which are really soft and they can be very pretty. And if you just make one cut, you can rip them into napkin-sized pieces of fabric. And people are like, oh, they come over to my house and they're like, oh, you have the fanciest napkins. And I'm like, oh no, that was so simple. So I don't really use paper towels anymore at home. And that was such an easy thing to sort of incorporate into my life. And it was so fun and easy that I think it inspired me to do other things too. So it's if you can knock that first one off your list, I think you can get really creative with what your next step is.
Wow, I think there is lots and lots of creativity loaded in you, Katie, and I think you have instilled that in your organization as well. So I really appreciate that, and I love every single idea that you've just shared. And I'm going to practice that at my home as well, because my mom would love it.
Cool, yeah, do it.
And now I think let's move to a different aspect of this issue. Okay.
Yeah.
So now talking about the current scenario as well. And we have seen such scenarios in past as well, during the COVID pandemic, in the light of current war-like situation that is going on between Russia, Ukraine, and other countries as well at the same time, feeling the tension, feeling the heat. There have been many such instances in every couple of years across the globe. And due to such issues, do you think that the priority, that the importance that environment should gets left behind, or gets submerged in the under the lights of these global changes or global situation or global chaos, I would say?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I would say that, I think that a lot of what we do can be really creative and beautiful, but at the root of a lot of these practices, resourcefulness has been a necessity for people for centuries. So a lot of the creative practices we celebrate, like quilting or mending, came from not just something beautiful, but something functional. And so I think that, through COVID, we really saw people engaging more than ever in the content that we were able to provide, because they were looking for a way to become more self-sufficient, to be more resourceful, to find like-minded community. And so, honestly, we saw a surge in people getting their sewing machines maintained because they wanted to be able to have that self-sufficiency at home to make their own items. We saw a surge in people like figuring out how to make their own gardens in their backyards, so that they could grow their own food. And so I think that we can get really overwhelmed and fearful sometimes about these global events that are causing real turmoil and scarcity. But I think one of a hands-on way to combat that is to think about how we can be resourceful in our own lives, and reuse is a big part of that. So I think that people maybe need to reshape how they think about environmentalism, to not only look at the global scale, but look at what might be going on locally as well, to see how they can really engage and make a difference. So I think that's a good reminder, because like you said, unfortunately, there's always going to be global turmoil, and environmentalism can't just keep getting pushed to the back, because it's a part of all of the conversations that are going on. It's not separate.
I think a great point of view, Katie. I again love that. And yes, like you said, that we should start acting locally and should not wait for governmental reforms to come into the picture and change the scenario all at once. I think it is something that is all of our responsibility, each and every single person, because Earth belongs to each and every single person. So I think they should do their part, at least in conserving the nature, conserving their environment, their surroundings, making it a better place for their loved ones, their close ones to live. I think that's again a great idea, awesome idea. Now, I would like to talk about another aspect of non-profit organizations, which we call the volunteers. I have connected with lots and lots of non-profit organizations, and all of them unanimously say that when it comes to the biggest stakeholder and most important stakeholder of a non-profit organization, it has to be the volunteers. Because without people with the right intent to support a particular cause, no cause can be furthered to any level. Because a single person, a CEO, an executive director, or founder of any non-profit organization cannot take an initiative to the next level without any support. We are people, we are social animals, and we need people to support us in whatever we do. So I would like to understand, how does Perennial interact with its volunteers, and what are some opportunities, like in the light of current pandemic? Virtual volunteering opportunities have seen a huge rise. Okay, so I want to understand from you that how does your organization interact with nonprofits, especially in terms of virtual engagement as well? Like someone like me who's sitting in completely different part of the world, wants really feels about the cause and wants to come up and support. How can I do that with Perennial?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're starting to have people come back in person to volunteer. And so that's great. And we love to have people in our space that are helping us sort donations or prepare for classes, or even come out with us to community events to help us craft with big groups of people. But you're right that over COVID, we really had to exercise how do we interact with people virtually, and how do we kind of continue to grow our impact in that way. And what we found was that, we're a pretty small team, and we're only able to be in so many places at once. And so what we tried to do throughout the last couple of years is start to provide some content for people. Maybe there's one person on a team that's really excited about reuse and sustainability. And we really need those people to sort of be ambassadors to continue to get other people excited about those activities. So it's a little bit non-traditional when you think about volunteering, but we've tried to put the tools out there that people can take perennial ideas and perennial crafts to their own organizations, their own families, to find things that they just have at home and teach people these simple sort of reuse crafts that are really fun, really engaging, great ways to connect with each other. And then that sort of, like I said, with some of these activities, it's a little bit contagious where you're like, oh, that really opened my eyes to how this soda can could get reused, or this bed sheet, or this t-shirt. These things can turn into other things. And that has people starting to think about other stuff that they throw away and what they can do with it. So I think that one great way to sort of volunteer with Perennial is to follow what we're doing and see how it applies to your own community. So we've got a pretty good social media presence. We have a YouTube channel with some of our crafts that we love to share with people. And then also, if you're like, oh, that's a little intimidating, I don't know if I can lead that group to do that, we also have opportunities that we can sort of lead everybody in that starting off point, and then they can take it from there. So one thing I didn't mention at the beginning is that every year Perennial diverts, the Perennial community diverts about 10,000 pounds or 5 tons of material from the landfill just through our creative classes. And that could be like a compost tumbler that we built that's kind of heavy, or it might be like I said, a pair of sweater mittens that weighs, a fourth of a pound. So those little amounts add up. And what we aren't able to track as well is kind of what that ripple effect is. So like once someone learns something and then they go teach 10 people, and then those people teach 10 people, those pounds add up, and those sustainable habits add up too.
Again, a great approach, a great perspective, a great point of view for your organization as well, and the way you want people to contribute towards the cause. I think that's really great. And so Katie, I think those were all my questions. At the end, I just want you to share a short message for all our volunteers, potential volunteers who will be watching this conversation of ours, telling them that how their bare minimum contribution in terms of time, in terms of effort, in terms of money whatsoever, can create such a huge impact in the lives of the people as well, and in their environment as well.
Yeah. So I think that I just want to say a really sincere and genuine thank you to anyone who is engaging in any way, big or small, on Earth Day, because I think that, again, there really just needs to be that starting point, and you can spark so much action just by getting started. So again, you have more influence than you know on the people in your family, in your community, at your workplace. So it's fine if you need to start small, but just get started. And thank you for making that commitment and making that impact, because it goes a long way, and it's so appreciated, especially by nonprofits that are working every day to make that impact. We need help, and we thank you for helping us with that.
And thank you so much, Katie, for sharing such a beautiful message. I think those were all my questions. Do you have anything else to share that you want to share that couldn't get included in my questions? Maybe?
I don't. So I think we covered a lot, and this was really fun. So thank you so much for inviting us to participate. We appreciate it.